Now, I was listening to the previous speakers and I was reminded of Charles Dickens, who wrote his famous work, Tale of Two Cities, and it begins, it was best of times, it was worst of times. Whether it was best, worst, or whatever it is, probably it is not boring times, very, very interesting times. Best of times because the time of transformation is shrinking very, very fast. I don't know how many years and how many centuries it took for human being to discover those two, they say, epoch-making discoveries, the wheel and the fire. Probably it took maybe 10,000 years. And after that, coming to the age when machinery were invented, the so-called assembly lines, the textile machines, so on and so forth, it probably took another 200 years. After that, it probably took maybe 100 years for the next wave of human invention or the fertility of human mind, the so-called the telephone, the electric bulb, and so on and so forth. And after that, it took probably 50 more years to get into a stage where we discovered computers. Now, we talked about data analytics. We apply analytics. The first wave, 2,000 years, next wave, 200 years, next wave, 100 years, next wave, 30 years. So organization, the world, the society is changing at an accelerated pace. So best of times. Every 3 or 5 years, the organizations, the governments, everything has to reinvent itself. And worst of times, of course, what I think previous speakers told, loss of privacy. 2 years back, Mr. Tripathi was asking, probably I would have got the prize probably. 2 years back, I decided to delete WhatsApp from my phone. I'm a happier person. Trust me, I have not missed a single beat. Today, as he was telling, you are being tracked. Most of the data compromise is a lazy compromise. We do not know, we just say yes, yes, yes. So in this situation, how do we navigate between these things? And trust me, there is nothing. I always tell in my speeches, in my articles, that this syndrome, which is called mannequin-driven buying. I am walking in the high street, this beautiful showroom is there, this putla is there or mannequin, which is wearing a good shirt or a good sari. I decide that if I buy that sari, if I buy that shirt, I will look as beautiful or as handsome, without forgetting that, I have not kept myself fit, I am not born with those kind of DNA, I don't have a perfect body, or for that matter, I don't have the culture. We must discover our own solution. And I have a friend in Haryana government who's a classmate of mine, he puts it very, very aptly. That is, the current age is an age in which you must trivialize the exotic. Otherwise, it is the vendor ecosystem, it is the consultant ecosystem which will laugh their way to the bank. When I was a young officer, I had a senior, he used to tell, whatever lawyer gives you, Mrutyunjay, you will have to read line by line. Prophetic words. In the age of digitization, it's very important to understand, and I am telling you from my heart, from years of experience, I am essentially from business, because State Bank of India has a policy that a senior business leader has to head IT. I was heading it for 3 years. But that eye of objectivity tells me 80%, 90% of it is no big deal. It is the hype which is creating, this so-called disruption more than the real worth. As one of my famous, one of my very favorite and famous cartoonist Dilbert says, this guy who is asking the other guy, are you worried about the rise of artificial intelligence? And the other guy very nonchalantly replies, no, I am worried about the fall in real intelligence. So let us see in the next few minutes, what are my thoughts? Because again, I always tell to my listeners, to my team members, to my general readers, that what of the world is well settled? That artificial intelligence is good, that artificial intelligence is powerful, that artificial intelligence can weave a magic is well known. Who doesn't know it? That machine learning is good, that Internet of Things is good, that digitization is beneficial, that digitization can revolutionize the society is good, but all of us are practitioners. In the age of digitization, as they say, if there will be a third world war, it will be fought in the digital space. It was very easy to bring down India. If you bring down NIC, if you bring down State Bank of India, if you bring down 4 or 5 of them, there will be war in the streets and people will kill themselves. Nobody has to drop a nuclear bomb. So in that thing, the what of the world is well settled. For a country like ours, for that matter, for any organization that we are working in, what is important is when, where, and how much. And that is the problem. The problem is that we do not know. Many times, we get swayed. The CEO tells that you must have an artificial. I went to some place in Amsterdam. It was a famous consultancy company. So they told, no, we have an artificial intelligence center. I went there. I was disappointed. So I asked. They told, no, CEO wanted that there should be an artificial intelligence center of excellence. So one of the conference rooms, we removed the board conference room and we told artificial intelligence centers of excellence. Majority of the journeys are happening. We are fooling ourselves. Whereas what is artificial intelligence? Simply, I have done myself 50s of projects where simple application, where to start, when to start, how much to do, whether your organizations are ready, whether your CFO will give you the money, whether you can hire from the public. So how to start? What is the template in which you will go forward? That is the question. And who will do that? No one. I will give you a few examples how I have done it in State Bank of India, where I started, how I went through, and how I completed the journey. But it is you. You will have to take a pen and paper. You will have to whiteboard it. You will have to sit with your team. As they say, half of the solution is defining the problem statement well. We start going towards the solution without understanding the problem and formulating the problem statement. Remember that. Problem statement articulation will be the challenge before corporate leadership. So let us see what is going on. Is it working at all? They say that 9/11 happened because American intelligence agencies had an inferior digital system as compared to Al-Qaeda. Today it is not uncommon to see that elections are being won based on social media strategy. There is an interesting publication of a famous bank called BBVA. It says they invite, I'm one of the lucky recipients because they chose only 250 recipients all over the world to mail this publication. They commission about 50 global thought leaders to write articles in their annual publication, because once I was in Madrid and I met the old man who is the chairman. So he mails me one copy. In the current issue, which is titled Age of Perplexity, in that there is one article called Digital Activism we have heard about judicial activism. So a new word is coming called digital activism. So what it says is that typically over the last 40 years, if you analyze major social revolutions or major disruptive events in the society, it is because of digital superiority. Whether it is media superiority, telecom superiority, or computer superiority, or information superiority, whatever, some digital superiority is happening. Now it is the turn of enterprises. Enterprises are getting disrupted. It's not working. But one thing is that disruption need not always be, thought that something is killing us, something is burning our house, some riot is happening in the streets, so on and so forth. I take it personally, my articulation is that it challenges the old way of doing things. I wouldn't have discovered that there is this thin layer of technology which will work to recruit hundreds of millions of Jan Dhan accounts. One disruptive move, I have articulated it in a framework later on. This was a beneficial disruption for me. So in your organizations, you must continuously see that business models and processes will be disrupted. Whatever are the beneficial disruptions, you must find out. And in SBI, something has worked for me, let me tell you. As large organization, whether it is government or whether it is legacy organizations like SBI, we have tremendous power to disrupt the disruptors. Market is a cruel place. It is a dog-eat-dog kind of a situation. All tricks in the bag must be deployed. And one of those is disrupting the disruptor, confusing the disruptor. Those of you who have not read, I strongly recommend to read the book Art of War. So we will have to find out that what is innovative, what is beneficial, and what is enhancing. Those kind of things we must concentrate. Now, what is happening in the digital space? All types of innovation. Take State Bank of India. I always say that our customers are between the age of 18 and 108. I put our customers in 4 buckets. Digitally native, who never want to visit a branch, want to do everything digitally. The second layer is digital migrants, who have come to learn digital and who are 80%, 90%, they are using digital. Then there are, digital fence sitters, Okay, ATM I'll do, but internet banking, I don't know. I'll probably order a book in the internet, but I'll not buy my car there. Then there are digitally averse, never want to do anything with computer. And what is the distribution of wealth? The distribution of wealth is towards the digitally averse. So how do you optimize this? So when I scan the entire ecosystem, what I find is that most of the disruption is happening around the boundaries, the gray zones. A telecom company probably can do a part of the job that the bank can do. A retail store can do part of the job that the bank can do. Let's say peer-to-peer lending, small value lending, sending small money across the network. Banks, as you know, banks have three basic functions: taking deposit, giving loans, and sending money from place A to place B, basically. But innovation generally happens in these gray zones. And remember one thing, disruptions and innovations will be dominated by, not by pioneering kind of efforts, not by industry leading or disrupting kind of innovations or disruptions. It will be dominated by follow-on ones, the so-called late mover advantage. Because it is cheaper, somebody else has burnt its money to get there. You'll have to take the basic raw material, innovate around the fringes, disrupt around this, add your features, reuse some of your code, and go and put it in the market. So another thing that is important is that digital giants, as I told, will continue to, the so-called GAFA, as they call it, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Alibaba, they will continue to dominate. But gradually, they will be questioned. Now they are labeled as data colonizers. Colonizers are those who have, acquired property without paying proper money for it, or proper value for it, or, taking advantage of a not so enlightened legal system. So they are colonizers. Now increasingly they will be questioned. The privacy regime and consent regime will catch up. So in those areas, what will happen is that innovative incumbents will find niche markets and will disrupt the so-called incumbents. For disrupting a State Bank of India, it may take 50 years, but for disrupting a Google, it may not take that much. So disruption will happen around the edges, around the gray areas where functional things will coalesce, and around those areas where people are being questioned. Last but not the least, somebody told, I think, change is the constant. I think some amount of cool innovation. Today, for example, I have an application called Mingle. It works also on the Watch app. It has 7,000 users. I have 420 million customers, or 430 million customers. This is 7,000. So increasingly, disruptive technologies will be those technologies which have to coexist with traditional and money spinning technologies. I call them cool technologies. It is cool to have a social media app. It may not give me any money. On the other hand, it may be bleeding money for me. So remember, 3-4 aspects of disruption I told. First is that it will happen around, so look out for those areas where industry boundaries are overlapping. Look out for those areas where socially, legally, and culturally an incumbent is getting questioned. And look out for those areas where, there is a cool quotient. It is cool to have it. It is appealing to a few things. It is good to talk in seminars. There also innovation and disruption will happen. So there are many things. I told most of it, and it was told. What we are seeing in SBI is there right at the middle. Earlier, anything comes. Let us say government department requests us for some integration. Let us say business tells us for something. We used to take n number of days in finding a solution how to integrate it with our core banking. Same, whether it is ERP or core banking doesn't matter. This is just a label. Now this is defining. So all of us, to face disruption, must invest in this service-oriented approach. That middle layer, which will be the plug-in layer, whether it is government, whether it is PSU organization, banks, manufacturing. One biggest defense for you, because what are the defenses for disruption? Quicker time to market, quicker change management, the ability to design products, ability to retire products, sunset products. These are some of the strategies which are traditionally deployed. But how to do it? One thing that will bail you out is your investment in API-driven architecture, which is service-oriented architecture. If you don't have it, you will be disrupted. Many people have told it. Again, one thing that we are investing for understanding disruption and dealing with it is the open source. Open source is suddenly, because I used to tell all my team members, don't think that X technical company or technology company, big multinational comes and tells you, sir, means that he is inferior to you. When I was a young branch manager in the manual days, I used to tell the union people, go get lost, I will do everything myself. Today it's not possible. You cannot simply do it. Simply not possible. Those days probably, let us take SBI for example. We used to handle about 100,000 transactions or 200,000 transactions in the 5,000 branches that we had per day. Today it is 12,000 per second. And in all types of colors, all types of flavors, all types of tastes, all types of geographies, all types of ecosystems, some coming from VSAT, some coming from, lease line, some coming through wireless, some coming from banking correspondent, 60,000 ATMs, 800,000 POS machines. So the world will only get complex. So in this, what is the mantra is that you must be collaborative. You must respect your partners. They may be from the vendors. You must understand that you cannot survive all alone. If you don't respect this, you will be disrupted. So open source is something, the deep pockets of the companies, for want, nothing against any one of them, whether the Microsoft or Oracle or IBM, they thrived for 40, 50 years based on very heavy duty, heavy lifting kind of technology. Thousands and tens of thousands of people sitting down writing codes which cannot be replicated by anyone. Today open source is disrupting that. And what is open source? Large organizations typically, today UIDAI is also running on open source. But the basic ground condition of going there and being able to run The entire open source ecosystem is the basic DNA of being collaborative, because there is no support system. It is only community support. So I told, this is organizational cultures. Typically, it is not even 25, 30 years back. Departments finding different departments, business is telling we have given it to IT, government is telling private sector is not doing, private sector is telling all government babus are hopeless. Now this has moved towards that. Boardrooms have taken a back seat. Policymakers have taken a back seat. The pyramid has been turned upside down. It is the user experience and the power of social media and the ability of it that is defining policy making, that is defining enterprise, that is defining. So you must also kind of find out what works for your organization, but this is the kind of roadmap I would recommend all of you to do. This is a famous, it's called hype cycle. There is a famous research firm called Gartner. They bring it out. All the red lines are given by me. Look at all of them. At all stages, Indian companies are there, or SBI is there, or some of the leading banks are there. So we are not far behind. As I told at the beginning, slicing and dicing, analyzing it yourself, finding it your own way, what is good for you is very, very important. You can know the headline items by reading the so-called newspapers. What flavor you want, you must find out. Now let us see that, what is happening to banking. A lot of things, everything is happening. As they say, banking, telecom, these are service industry, these are hotel, hospitality, these are at the forefront of innovation always. So all of these things are happening. And what is, as a result, what we are seeing is this. Nandan Nilekani, who I am good friends with, many times he says data will be the new oil, of course, but banks will not get their income anymore from interest and fee as the primary income drivers. They will get it from data and insights. Look at what is happening. These are traditional banks' functions. Going forward, it will only do, banks will probably do identity management, information management, and experience management. This is the disruptive layer which is coming. You can put anything inside. Menu is yours. I always say that, talking about menu, if you are not on the table, you will be on the menu. So you can put anything which is, but remember, disruption, disruptive tools, whether you are disrupting the disruptors or somebody is disrupting you, he is using one of these four. He is doing ecosystem play. Distributed ledger is a blockchain technology, but substitute it with distributed information or information that is commonly available to the ecosystem. And he is using platforms. Today in SBI, for example, we are doing something called YONO. We know that we cannot, and I always give this example that we thought home loan is taking, a loan at a particular interest rate. Quantum of loan and interest rate used to determine, but not anymore. The moment you decide to buy a home loan, you are thinking whether that builder is good, whether the place has a nice park for my parents to go and take a walk, whether this builder has delivered in time, whether this area has schools nearby, what is the commuting time, what is the traffic, whether there is a packer, there is a mover, there is a bastu, so on and so forth. This is all part of the home loan buying journey. And many of it the banking ecosystem cannot provide. So we will have to provide a home loan platform in which all these players will come and define experience. That is the DNA of disruption. Disruption, if you say, we are getting disrupted, we must invest in artificial intelligence, we must put few people in doing robotic and all, it won't happen, because problem statement will not be well defined. So this is the framework. You can get it, I think, probably this there, or otherwise I'll leave it. Some of it I have changed, but you know, there are controllables and uncontrollables. Like in any management problem, I always tell my team, if you have a problem, slice it, make it into controllable, leave the uncontrollable, work on the controllables. So the same thing when you look at it and look at the market, where exactly people are investing, you will have a fair idea how to face the disruption through digital means. Now, what we are doing? We are doing all the 5 types of, disruption. We are doing offensive, because as I told many times, offense could be the best form of defense. We are doing defensive because we must correct it, and I have given specific examples of our projects where we have done it. We are doing destructive to create confusion as a strategy. Many times, all organizations, small or large, knowingly or unknowingly have to do it. We are disrupting ourselves, for example, hacking, or we have people who try to bring it down or try to affix hot fixes to see whether our things are working or not. We also, I have people who I have given some money to open accounts with other banks to find out what exactly they are doing, what is the experience. So we will have to self-disrupt also ourselves, because many times you will be, when you are a State Bank of India, probably you are many times fooled by your size, fooled by your market share, fooled by the brand equity that you have. You feel invincible, which is very, very bad. So all your organizations, you will have to draw probably a map like this and find out where exactly things are happening. Open banking is something where a lot of innovation is happening, so I need not tell this, but these are some of the technologies. Again, as I told, the power of network is driving it. Last but not the least, I would like to leave a thought with you that security is quite often spoken. In fact, some of you are probably CISOs. That you will be disrupted, that you will be hacked is a given. The foolish thing that most of us do, and most of us includes me also, is trying to protect everything we have. Which is a very, very foolish strategy. I think the current thing is that you will have to identify your crown jewels, and you will have to protect them with your life. In SBI, for example, a core banking system, an internet banking system, or a mobile banking system, or a payment system, I give a different level of security and different, because as you know, the first level is that, the DR. Now I have 2 layers of intermediate DRs. a near hot site and a hot site, because these are my crown jewels. So all of you, I strongly recommend, disruption is bound to happen because of compromises in cyber area. Hackers have the ability to surprise you, but have a crown jewel program. And those crown jewels must be your board approved ones. You must again identify yourself. How to bring them up should be your top priority. Second is, second area that is coming up very, very big is, crystallization of this security versus privacy. Because legal disruptions are the worst disruptions. If you are in the wrong side of law, if you are not compliant, if you are not adhering to a policy laid down by the government, then the so-called majesty of the government will be after you. And no amount of money or no amount of competence will save you. So one thing that is potentially disruptive is this loose data regime in organizations and the privacy regime. Privacy will be banking on consent management. Going forward, consent will define government and law enforcement agencies' ability to come and close your business. And it's a very, very complex thing. I again request, we are investing in it, because whatever he wants, suppose a customer data is available, whatever he wants to give it to a doctor could be different from whatever he gives to his legal expert, and whatever probably he wants to share with his wife or her husband. And consents increasingly will have to be, given, withdrawn, given, withdrawn, given for a fixed period of time. So technology will be required to face this. I hope I have given you enough amount of thoughts that what are the colors and flavors of disruption that I am seeing as a practitioner, how I am trying to deal with it, and all of you are industry leaders. I am sure that in these interesting times, because interesting times are fertile times for innovation, all of you will get innovative. Thank you.